The secret society believed to be behind the Civil War. The Knights of the Golden Circle, also known as the KGC. The Knights of the Golden Circle was a paramilitary secret society heavily steeped in Freemasonry. Their goal was to extend slavery throughout the southern states, parts of Mexico, Central America, and parts of South America, including the Caribbean islands. Their symbolism was shared with Freemasonry, and many of their most prominent members were Freemasons. It is believed that one of their main plans of action was to get Lincoln elected in order for them to have their war and to solidify their power. They did this by spreading propaganda all throughout the South and by having high-ranking members split the Democratic Party, allowing Lincoln to win with less than 40% of the popular vote. To become a member, one had to be American-born, Protestant. If they were from the North, they had to be a slaveholder. And they had to believe in ideals of racial superiority and manifest destiny. Much like the Blue Lodge of Freemasonry, the Knights of the Golden Circle was divided into 3 degrees. The first degree was the military power, called the Knights of the Iron Hand. In this outer degree, members would learn hand signs to identify themselves and would participate in military drills. The second degree was the Knight of the True Faith. This was the financial branch. The third and inner degree was the Knights of the Colombian Star. This was the political head. Many members did not know who was in the inner circle. Members had to be at least 19 years old and no older than 50. By the late 1850s, they had over 8,000 soldiers in Arkansas and Texas, and over 95,000 members in the North, in places like New York, Iowa, and Michigan, all prepared for war. The Knights of the Golden Circle was also steeped in symbolism. One of their most identifiable symbols was the triangle with the numbers 3, 7, and 5. When added together, they represented the 15 states of the Confederacy, and the R over the 61 represented Southern Revolution in the year 1861. But this symbol also has strong ties to Freemasonry. In Freemasonry, there's the rule of 3, the 5 that hold the lodge, and the 7 that make it perfect. There is also the 3 Grand Masters, the 5 Noble Orders of Architecture, and the 7 years it took to build Solomon's Temple. Once more, we have the 3 degrees of the Blue Lodge, and the 7 liberal arts and sciences. Another major symbol of the Knights of the Golden Circle was the Scolding Crossbones. This represented death to all abolitionists and any who stood against Southern independence. The Scolding Crossbones was first flown by the Knights Templars and is derived from the Latin phrase memento mori, which means remember you must die. Also, we have the Crescent Moon, often depicted with 15 stars, representing the growing Confederacy. And at last, the dome with the 15 stars and the sun at noon, representing a South fully realized. Another major symbol of the Knights of the Golden Circle was the Scolding Crossbones. This represented death to all abolitionists and any who stood against Southern independence. The Scolding Crossbones was first flown by the Knights Templars and is derived from the Latin phrase memento mori, which means remember you must die. Also, we have the Crescent Moon, often depicted with 15 stars, representing the growing Confederacy. And at last, the dome with the 15 stars and the sun at noon, representing a South fully realized. The founder of the Knights of the Golden Circle had a grand plan to take over Mexico as the first step in establishing his Golden Circle. He planned on doing this through a process called filibustering. But not the idea of filibustering that we know today that happens in Congress, but the process of using small raiding parties to occupy foreign land. In his plan, Mexico would be divided into 25 new slave states. Each of the soldiers who would participate in this plan would receive 640 acres of land and plenty of slaves. Mexico during that time was caught up in the War of Reform, where Mexican liberals wanted to take away some of the power of the Catholic Church and centralize power to the states. On the other hand, conservatives wanted a centralized government ruled out of Mexico City. Bickley quickly gained support from the liberals of northern Mexico. One of his main supporters was the governor of Guanajuato, Manuel Delgado Partida. The two men made a deal that if Bickley could bring down 16,000 soldiers, that Governor Delgado would match his 16,000, aid him in the takeover of Mexico City, and provide him with tax money. The invasion was set to begin on October 6, 1861. But the Knights' forces would now have to focus on the Civil War. Major players in the Knights of the Golden Circle. Founder George Bickley of Indiana, who grew the Knights by spreading ideas of white superiority and slave expansion. John C. Breckinridge, the youngest vice president in American history under James Buchanan, helped to split the vote in 1860 and served as the Secretary of War for the Confederates. Jefferson Davis, the President of the Confederacy. The infamous outlaw Jesse James. The Governor of Texas, Sam Houston. The man who played both sides, Edward Stanton. Hardcore Democrat turned Republican. Served as Secretary of War under Lincoln. Albert Pike, the highest-ranking Freemason in America. The rites and rituals of Freemasonry in a book called Morals and Dogma. Confederate General Nathan Bedford Forrest. He started I'm not going to say it. And John Wilkes Booth, Lincoln's lone assassin.